The Selfish Gene, Chapter 8, Battle of the Generations, by Richard Dawkins. In this chapter, Dawkins discusses the conflict between parents and children, specifically if mothers have favourites or should treat her children equally, and why and how children attempt to obtain unequal parental investment. Firstly, we are assuming here that a mother is a machine programmed to propagate its genes' survival. A mother can invest unequal resources in her children by providing it with unequal food, protecting it from predators, and invest time teaching the children. Dawkins says there are many ways to measure this investment, such as the amount of energy expended, but this is only loosely convertible. The best measure would be gene survival, proposed by Trivers as parental investment, also earlier proposed by Ronald Fisher as parental expenditure. Parental investment is the parent's investment in an offspring that increases its survival probabilities and also reproductive success at the expense of the parent's investment in other offspring. For example, if a mother has two babes and one baby drinks the milk at the expense of the other, what is the probability that the baby who did not drink the milk would die? This could be generally referred to as altruism investment, the investment of individual A in B's survival probabilities at the expense of other individuals or itself. Although mothers are equally related to their children, an undersized child may indicate a lower life expectancy and hence decrease her investment in it. Furthermore, if given the choice to save a younger or older child, she may prefer the older one because she has already invested more in the older child. On the other hand, she may prefer the younger one if the older one has already been weaned and is already capable of finding food and surviving on its own. Mothers expected to have their last child might also invest all her resources in it, but she could also weigh up investments in other related individuals as grandchildren, nephews, and nieces. At this point, Dawkins takes the time to discuss menopause, which probably didn't happen in our wild ancestors given the life expectancy was low. According to Medawar's theory of aging, menopause could be an adaptation if women became less efficient at rearing children as they got older. Then the life expectancy of children from an older mother will be less than from a younger mother. Hence genes for grandchild altruism would generally prevail in the gene pool, and reproductive infertility in middle age became more frequent. In comparison, men do not invest as much as females in each child, so it was always beneficial for a very old man to invest in children rather than grandchildren. Shifting from the mother's perspective to the child's perspective, the 1974 paper by Trivers, Parent-Offspring Conflict, explains how children may influence parents to favor them. Mothers on genetic grounds should have no favorites, as all children have half genetic relatedness and should favor herself twice as much compared to her children. However, she can gain more from each unit of investment in helpless individuals than investing in herself. For the brother, he would favor himself twice as much as compared to his brothers or sisters given half genetic relatedness. In nature, this selfish greed is not uncommon. Piglets fighting to be the first to suck milk, children fighting over the last slice of cake. The brother should grab more of the parental investment, but only up to a point, because it may pay for a younger sibling to have the food as he or she can relatively benefit more from the food than the older brother, also factoring the benefit of weaning himself. Therefore, the child-mother conflict is a disagreement over timing during an intermediate period when, according to the mother, the brother is getting more than his share, but the cost to the other siblings is less than double the benefit to the brother. Competition among siblings for more parental investment is evident in baby birds screaming to be fed, with loudness proportional to the degree of hunger. Ideally, this allows a fair distribution, but individuals may cheat and tell lies about how hungry they are. This loudness would reach a certain level, not too loud as to attract predators or use too much energy, until it becomes the norm and stops being a lie. However, this cannot de-escalate because those that do will be penalized by being fed less. Children will use psychological tactics on parents, such as lying, deception, exploitation, For example, pretending to be hungrier, younger, or exaggerate the degree of danger, up until the point it penalizes relatives more than genetic relatedness allows. Parents must therefore discern if a child is lying or telling the truth, as there is a risk of losing its genes, as in the instance of wild birds that can die after being starved for a few hours. Dawkins mentions that runts that are born smaller and unable to fight for food as strongly would struggle to a point where the genes would instruct them to die, as this would benefit the genes if any additional investment was directed to the siblings instead. In terms of clutch size, the mother may also lay one more egg than the true optimum and gamble on the chances that food supplies turns out to be better than expected. If her expectations don't come to fruition, she can feed her young in order of size and let the runt die, as observed in many birds. The evolutionary biologist Amos Zahavi proposed a blackmail hypothesis whereby a child may scream to attract predators as a way for the parent to feed them. The blackmailer also endangers his siblings, who share half genetic stake. Dawkins says this may be plausible for brood parasites such as cuckoos who lay eggs in the nest of other birds, as foster siblings do not share any genetic relatedness. Foster parents that do not feed the cuckoo would risk rearing fewer children than those that did. The advantage of this tactic would outweigh the risk, and the screaming genes would spread in the cuckoo gene pool. Dawkins points out that birds are ruthless in nature when it comes to survival. For example, baby honeyguides that are laid in the nests of other species slash its foster brothers and sisters to death. Likewise, baby cuckoos hatch before foster brothers and sisters and throw the other eggs out of the nest. Baby swallows placed in the nest of magpies also acted like baby cuckoos, even though swallows are usually found in their own nests, possibly because this is what happens in swallow nests, as fratricide is conceivable in the gene pool. In The Conflict Between Parent and Child, R.D. Alexander suggests that if a child garners unequal parental investment at the expense of the parent, he would pay this penalty in fitness as a parent, given his children would inherit his genes. Dawkins argues that this assumes genetic asymmetry, which does not exist between parent and child. As a counter-argument, the hypothesis can be reversed to say that if parents have genes for equal distribution of parental benefits that improve fitness, if this improves his fitness as a parent, it would have lowered his fitness as a child. Dawkins argues that the child grabbing more resources from parents needs to weigh the cost of losing brothers and sisters and future offspring. Children have therefore evolved signals such as purring or smiling to gain more parental investment, which is also rewarding to the parent. Dawkins warns that he is not suggesting that children possess selfish genes that make them consciously and deliberately deceive their parents. He is saying that in wild populations, natural selection will tend to favor children who act this way. Therefore, he emphasizes the need to teach our children altruism because we cannot expect human nature to act altruistically.